Welcome everybody to webinar 2 for the Reaching Out grant. All of the resources are linked on the webinar series year 2 on the December 5th one. I can't believe that we are already in December, under the grants website, which is ty.net/library. So today we are thrilled to have Alyssa from the South Dakota State Library to share all the resources that the State Library provides and services. And so I am going to stop sharing and hand it over to Alyssa.
Okay. Give me a second here. Okay. So my name is Alyssa Adams, and I am the School Library Technology Coordinator for the State Library. I should say that Joan was the me before me, and laid a awesome foundation for me. So my job has been pretty wonderful so far. I deal mostly with schools, although I do some public library work as well, but I am technically the only school person on staff, minus our youth and children's services coordinator. She is an elementary librarian, but she doesn't actively play a part in the school library services for the state library. So in South Dakota, the state library is a part of the Department of Ed, which I know is not the case in all the states. And that can be good and bad. For me, it's good. I think that gives us a little more teeth in terms of weightiness in our state, and I'm happy about that. A lot of what we do in the state library supports education, and we've seen that more and more. I think even in the I'm going on year 4 now that I have been doing this job, I've seen that K-12 is gaining a little bit more in terms of what they're doing with the Department of Ed, so that's good. So today I'm kind of going to go through some of the digital services we offer. Of course, we offer lots, and I'm not going to go through every single little thing, but
because we'd be here for days. Alyssa,
yeah.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yes, I will. Give me just one sec.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if you were or not. Yep. Okay, cool.
So I see Tracy. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
Long time no see. And then we have the 2 Carmens, is that right?
Yep.
Cool.
And Danette.
Okay, so let me share my screen, and I'm going to run through some things. Now, this is a flyover, so we're not getting in deep, just giving you a general idea of what the State Library offers. And of course, if anyone wants to contact me and dig a little deeper, I'm happy to walk through things with them. We also do, the state library, at least in South Dakota, does free trainings for school districts. So we will come out to each school district and train on our databases. And we're going to go through some of those databases today. So if that's something that South Dakota school districts are interested in, all you have to do is contact me, and we can get you set up for a training. So, okay, let me share here. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Sweet, okay. So we just recently revised our website, and we have a brand new one. We're really happy about that. It's nice and clean looking. And this took quite a long time. If you know how the state runs, this was a years long process. So we're pretty tickled that we have a new website that's easier to navigate and find what you need. So at the top here, we have our main offerings. We have our databases, which for schools is the biggest hitter by far. We also have Braille and Talking Book. Many state libraries offer Braille and Talking Book services, and as do we, and we're pretty thrilled with what we offer there. So if you have a, I'm just gonna go to it real quick. If you have a student who is in need, a disability, the services for the visually impaired or blind, even physical would let me get back here, limit someone's ability to hold a book, or even a learning disability that would limit someone, they can use the Braille and Talking Book. And if you go to the website, you have everything you need to get started with that, and you can see if one of your students can qualify for that service. And we do have several students who get full services from the state library with Braille and Talking Book. And the next tab is our services tab. I'm going to click down, and then the drop-down menu, we have it's for public libraries, for school libraries, and for state employees. And then we have a whole bunch of other little goodies at the bottom here. I'm going to go through these in just a little bit, but I'm going to head down to the catalog. So the SDSL, that stands for South Dakota State Library catalog, is our catalog that offers print and electronic resources that people can check out. Our digital collections, I'm going to go ahead and go to that. So we've started, years ago, not years and years, but recently we started digitizing some of the collection here, and we actually have people on staff who that is their main job, is to copy and scan and digitize important documents. And we have that collection, and many state libraries have a digital collection now. Go back here. Again, I'm not going to go real deep into these things, but just so you kind of know what we offer. And then we have South Dakota Share It. South Dakota Share It is our interlibrary loan system. And if you look on your, what is this thing called? The agenda. If you look on your agenda, I kind of explained that, you know, we have 89 participating libraries. We have a couple more who are trying to get on board, like Rapid City, trying to get Rapid City on board. Because we know you all have some really great resources. And that's 5 million records that schools and public libraries and people in general can borrow across the state. It's a really wonderful service, and whether or not a school or a public library participates in Share It, meaning they will loan materials, it doesn't matter. You can, anyone can interlibrary loan from any school or public library. So really great offering there. Let me go back here. Give me just one sec. Under services again, so I've gone through the catalog. We have the catalog, the digital collections, Share It. We also have a LibGuides. I'll go ahead and go to that. LibGuides, ours at least is more for established librarians who kind of know what they're looking for already. It's maybe not so much for the general public. And so this is a little deeper information that you may need to know. For me personally, the best thing on this LibGuides that I reference quite a bit, besides the school libraries, of course, is the electronic resources page. If I go to that, it's just chock full of information. So if you have a question about any of the databases or any of the digital resources, most likely you're going to find the answer here. And if you're not, then you can contact any of the librarians at the state. David Bradford is the digital resources coordinator, and some of you who are in South Dakota probably know him. He's actually leaving the state library to move to Minnesota here pretty soon. So he won't be available, but Nina Menzel and myself will be available to answer questions about databases and electronic resources. So the LibGuides, there's just so much here. I mean, look, you can look at any of the databases. Let's say I want Culturegrams. Hey, that's new. It'll give us information on it. We already had a webinar on it, and there's an archive of that you can watch if you'd like to. Tells you what it is, and then it'll also give you more information on librarian resources, so you can print printables out and all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to take you to, as long as we're on the LibGuides page, as you can see, there's quite a bit of information here, but I'm going to take you to school libraries. The majority of the school libraries information, it lives on the state library website. I don't typically keep it on the LibGuides because I just think it's more general information that I want everyone to know about instead of specifically just school librarians. But the topics I do keep on the LibGuides is how to get a hold of people and how to communicate across our state if you're a school librarian. Information about the school library media endorsement. I get this question all the time. How can people get endorsed in library, or what does it take to work in a school library? Well, in South Dakota, we love to have certified people in our school libraries, but it's not a requirement. That is a district decision. And so I get that question all the time, even from administrators. And Joan, you probably know that too, right? It's probably one of the #1 questions besides digital books. And so this will give you kind of all that information on there. And then I do keep all of the school library professional development on there. And there it is. These are all of our offerings. I'm not going to go through each one, but I would say that boot camp is our kind of premier course that happens once a year. It's a blend. Now it's a blend of face-to-face and online. And for next year, those of you in South Dakota, it will be right before the SDLA conference again. It worked out really well for us this year, so we're going to try that again and see how it works. It'll be in Aberdeen, I believe, next September. And the theme is self-directed reading. So I'm excited to do that one. I'm seeing schools kind of maybe not put such an emphasis on that recreational self-directed reading as it once was. They're getting rid of AR, which could be bad or good depending on how you look at it, right? They're getting rid of different reading programs. I'm seeing a lot more schools getting rid of their drop everything and read programs. And so I kind of want to emphasize, that is an important part of literacy. Especially for our elementary kids and our middle school, I would say. And then secondly, we have this online course, an intro to the 2019 South Dakota School Library Standards. This course has gone over really, really well, and I am looking at doing a second course, a more advanced course, and that will be more for just certified people. And kind of applying these standards, not just learning about them, but actually applying them. And so kind of be looking for that if you were in South Dakota. But there are some other offerings here as well that you can always look through if you want. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. Are there any questions so far? I know there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but okay, I'll keep going. I can talk.
Alyssa, I couldn't find the button to get off the mute. Are you familiar with the 2 books that have come out, the 2 new books from ALA that use the standards and create lessons?
Mm-hmm.
There's one for elementary, and then there's one that just came out for secondary.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I'll probably kind of be using those as well, because when we just rewrote the school library standards for our state, and we used the AASL standards heavily. You could see a lot of that vocabulary in there. And so I think that would be kind of a good link with that course if I ended up doing that. Thanks for the tip on that. Yeah. Okay. So let's head back to the state website here. So at the top, again, we have our main services here. You could always learn more about the state library by clicking on About SCSL. That'll give you more information. Look at, we have a couple jobs too. It looks like. Let's go to the databases, because by far the databases are the biggest hitter for our K-12 students and staff. There is pretty much no way the school districts would be able to afford these databases. They are very spendy. Even bigger districts like Rapid City, Sioux Falls, once you look at your population numbers, it's just really hard to allocate those funds to go towards these kinds of materials. And so the state library uses federal and state dollars to purchase e-resources for its citizens. A lot of them are, we have about 55-ish, about 20, although it kind of depends on how you look at it. I would say around 20 of them are specific to K-12. In the last couple of years, we've been working really hard to support our younger kids, especially preschool and early elementary. Most recently, we have purchased Culturegrams and TrueFlix, and I would say that's more for upper elementary, middle school, in that range. And so we have really been working on how can we support our biggest user group of our databases, which is K-12, and beefing those offerings up a little bit more. And so this is the homepage of the databases. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see that they are categorized A to Z, and then alphabetically there. You can filter it by typing in the name of the database that you're looking for, or a category. So if you're looking for something in health, you can type in health and it will give you all the health databases. Now in South Dakota, for about, I don't know, a year or so now, we have offered GeoIP, which means that anyone within the physical boundaries of South Dakota can instantly access any of our databases. This has been a lifesaver. I cannot even tell you how many phone calls I don't get anymore. Which, not that I don't love hearing people's voices, but seriously, it is like people just can get on the databases. Teachers and school librarians really appreciate it, because no longer are they having to send kids home with those super long, 14-digit codes for kids to access the databases at home. If they're living in South Dakota, they should be able to access the databases instantly. We still do offer IP authentication for each and every school. So what that means is that if GeoIP went down for some reason, which we haven't had it go down yet, so that's awesome. But if it does go down, at least in schools, because each school is authenticated, you should still have instant access to it in schools. And then of course, you can always use your library card to access the databases as well, the e-card. Our requests for e-cards have just gone way down because of GeoIP, which is good and bad, kind of, but we can really track who is who is using the databases through GeoIP, which, you know, kind of creepy. You think about it, like everything is like watching you, right? And so basically that's what GeoIP is doing, looking at your location and then giving you access from there. So all of these,
Alyssa?
yeah.
Michelle asked about Wyoming desperately needs this. What's the cost? Is that something that you
I wouldn't know that. David
Okay.
would know that, and Nina. I will, you know what, I'll ask Nina
Okay.
and or have who asked this?
Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. Yeah, let's hook Michelle up with Nina and have her ask, because I would like to know that too. Let me see what I can find for you.
Okay.
But it really has been a lifesaver. I mean, you know this, Julie. I mean, I can't even imagine how many phone calls and emails and everything you got because, oh, this isn't working. That's not there's a user error, you know?
Well, it's what I like about it is it just makes it so much more accessible to everybody, no matter
It really
where they're
does.
at. You know, it's
Yep.
not the kid who forgot his library card at school, you know,
Mm-hmm.
can't do his homework.
Yep.
Now it's just though
There's-
we were out of state and I had Tate with me and he was doing homework and he's like, Mom, I need the databases. But at least his mom is a librarian and she had a library card memorized for him. But
Right.
but I know I was like he uses them all the time without
Right.
having to log in, and it's like so awesome. So
Exactly. It kind of helps with the whole equity issue, doesn't it?
hugely.
As long as you know that they're available, you now really don't have an excuse. Our kids no longer have a real good excuse to not be able to access them, right? Unless, maybe they don't have Wi-Fi at home, right? Or maybe they don't have a computer. There are issues.
There's still issues, but it's way more accessible. And it's just it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Even when when you're communicating about the databases, as long as we're in state, all you have to do is click on them and go.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So of the 55, we have sorted them into, you can see kind of right in the middle here, elementary, middle, and high. I'm going to start with elementary. And for elementary, we actually had two views. Right now you're seeing the list view. And of course it's alphabetical. We have Bookflix, Culturegram, Explora Kids. There's an encyclopedia here, Learning Express. Some of these are on here and I'm not absolutely sure I would call them elementary, but I can't fight every single battle. Miss Humblebee's Academy, this is a brand new one to us and we've gotten a lot of interest in that one. TrueFlix is a new one to us. It's a sister database, or it's actually less of a database and more of just a plain digital resource to Bookflix. And then we have the World Book Suite here, of course. World Book Early Learning, that is for preschool. And just that early literacy, and that one is a brand new one to us, as well as World Book Dramatic Learning as well. Then those are like plays and those kinds of things. So kids can go on and search it by the name of the database that they're looking for or the category. And then if we go to the grid view, let me grab a drink. You can see that we've tried to make it a little bit more user-friendly for the little kiddos, and then they can click on the database that they want just by looking at the icon. So it makes it a little bit easier. Now I'm going to head over to the middle school. And here are middle school databases. There are, I don't know how many, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16 of them. Of those, Books and Author is new to us. Consumer Reports is new. I just used that yesterday. I'm looking to buy a new mattress for my new home. And I'm like, which mattress should I buy? So where'd I go? I went to my state library and I went to Consumer Reports and got everything I needed to know. Looks like I'm going to be getting a Sleep Number. Tracy, do you have a Sleep Number? Oh, see.
Yeah, it's the best. I recommend it.
So Consumer Reports, it's super easy to use too. I was like shocked at how easy it was to use. So I would say yes for a middle school on that one. Culturegrams is also new. We have gotten requests since I started. I remember librarians requesting that, and we finally were able to get it 3 years later. And so we now have Culturegrams, and that's going really, really well. Super duper awesome for geography, history, just learning about different people and cultures around the world in a really easy to use format. Explore Teens is new last year, I believe, very similar to SIRS. Let's see, Learning Express is one that is middle school, high school, I would say, and it's a test prep database. It's pretty common. Other state libraries have it as well. For us in our state, it pairs very well with SD My Life. And I believe they start, maybe Joan would know this, you start SD My Life in middle school, or is it just high school?
It depends on your school district.
Okay, okay.
But sometimes 8th grade.
Yeah.
Rapid, we start in middle school.
Okay. So it is, but pretty much it's across the board when you get it up to high school. You're using it. Pairs super well with SD My Life. So if SD My Life is more about, and I know we're talking just to South Dakota people right now, but if SD My Life is more about, hey, I want to find out what I might want to do with my life based on my interests, then Learning Express would prepare you for any tests that you might have to take to become that occupation or career. It also is like ACT prep, that kind of stuff. So it can save parents some money, which is lovely. TrueFlix is, again, the companion to BookFlix, and that is social studies based. And really great pairing when it comes to pairing fiction with nonfiction as well. I like it for that. World Book Dramatic Learning, like I said, is plays, dramas, and then we have the World Book Student. And that's your basic encyclopedia resource there. It's like a souped up encyclopedia. Next up, high school. Now, when I was teaching K-12, my focus was high school. I started out teaching English to juniors and seniors, and then I moved into alternative education for a few years. And then I moved into the library at the middle school and high school level. And so my great love is the research paper project process until you get to the grading part, and then that's awful, right? It's really, really awful. But the methodical process of teaching the research paper it was really what I loved about teaching English. And so these were all kind of my best friends. Many of these databases when I taught the research process. So at the high school level, we have a few more. I think we have probably around 20 or so. Some of these are going to be pretty specific to subjects, and some are going to be very broad. So books and authors gives users an idea of what kind of books they might like based on genres and those kinds of things. And it also kind of gives backgrounds of authors and those kinds of things. So if you were doing like an author study, this would be a good one to use for that. Of course, you got the consumer reports, love that. Culturegrams is effective at high school as well, especially if you're looking at, I would say 9th, 10th grade. It's very good. Or special education or EL education. The Digital Library of South Dakota, let's look at this real quick, because I do think that this is kind of valuable if you're focusing on South Dakota specific things. The Digital Library of South Dakota is basically a whole bunch of libraries got together, all these colleges, right? And you can access their digital collections that way.
And this is freely available to anybody anywhere, right?
It is. Yep. We just keep it, we think it's that cool that we keep it on the website. But yes, it is freely available. Same thing with the Digital Public Library of America. When your kids are asking for ebooks, EBSCO ebooks is a good one to use. It is going to be primarily nonfiction. So if you're doing the research process or something like that, where you're looking for a print book, but you can't find it in print, so you'll go ahead and take the digital form of the print book. EBSCO ebooks is a really great place to head. As well as Gale ebooks is another great place to head if you're looking for a print book in digital form. Because we know that especially high school libraries are just not spending their money on their nonfiction collections as much as they used to. They're really relying heavily on digital resources. So this is a good place to go when you are looking for a book. EBSCO Megafile, I would say that this is going to be more at your junior senior level. It's a little, the database itself is pretty hefty. You will have 9th graders crying if they have to get into this. Most 9th graders crying. This is also something that students will be expected to use in college. Absolutely. They will get to college and they will need to know how to use this megafile. And so this is a really great one for juniors and seniors to get used to at the when it's still safe for them before they're paying tuition, right? We have another Explorer Teens, and this one's for the higher grade levels there. An encyclopedia. Hathy Trust is genealogy. You know, I don't know a lot about this one. David would know a lot more. I don't know. I just know it's genealogy based. Again, we have the Learning Express Library. Awesome at the high school level. I mean, every single high schooler should be using Learning Express Library in one way or the other. Whether they are prepping for the ACT, whether they want to go into the military and they need to take the ASVAB test, this is the place to go for that. Also, incoming teachers who are needing to take the praxis tests, there's praxis tests on there. Teachers who are looking to get their master's degrees, you can take the practice, what's it called? I forget, the master's degree test. You guys remember? The MCAT?
GRE.
The what?
GRE, graduate.
The GRE, yes. God, that was hard too, I'm not gonna lie. Mass Ultra School Collection, you know, I honestly don't know a lot about that, and I haven't spent a lot of time on it because we just have so many other good ones here. The Points of View Reference Center is very similar to the SERS Researcher. I tend to like the SERS Researcher better. It's great for debate kind of topics, pro-con issues. And do you guys remember those thick green books, those reader's guides? Remember those? Schools don't really buy those anymore. And do you know why? Because it's all online pretty much, right? So we do have that there. Let's see, we have Science Reference Center. We were kind of missing some in the science area, and so we definitely wanted to beef that up, and so we got the science reference. And then, of course, the World Book Advanced as well, and the dramatic learning there. So again, at the very bottom of each of the elementary, middle, and high school pages, you can always gain a lot more information by visiting our LibGuides page. And then here are the contacts. David's name will not be there soon, but you can always contact me if there's anything you need to know. And again, like I said, all of these databases, I mean, they're $500,000 of state and federal funds, and they are because literacy and inquiry is that important, right, in our kids. And so that's where the state library chooses to spend its money in providing it for all South Dakota citizens, not just for high school or for K-12, but for all of the citizens. Any questions? I'm going to stop here for a second, see if there's any questions. Nada? Okay. I'm going to go back up to the home page here. And I'm going to go back to services because I do want to show you a couple new things that we have that are super cool. And there are probably other libraries that are doing things like this too. So for public libraries, I know that we are mostly school librarians here, but we know that we should be partnering with our public libraries. School libraries we're in crisis mode, right? Like it's legit. We need help, and the best place in our communities that we can get help, as far as I'm concerned, is our public library. We should be partnering a lot more than what we are in most cases, and so I do think that this is a viable service that school librarians should be looking at too. And I know how busy school librarians are, and it's hard to reach out. And so we really try to hit up those public librarians saying, you gotta help our school librarians out and see where we can kind of meet in the middle there. So public library services, here's everything we offer. We have a Public Library Institute, which offers certification and accreditation for public librarians and libraries. So it would be kind of like the endorsement for school libraries, similar to that. There's also training specific to public libraries. There's grant opportunities, all of these you can kind of look through here when you're going through it. But I wanted to take you to the Children and Youth Services. So the Children and Youth Services is it is a part of the public library services, although we play really well together with the school libraries. If you're in South Dakota, you know that the South Dakota Children's Book Awards and the YARP Awards are kind of the thing to do as far as literacy goes in your schools. And so if you wanted to access more information on that, you definitely could. So we have the Prairie Bud, Prairie Bloom, and Prairie Pask, and each year there are nominees, and then kids read those nominees, and then they get to vote throughout the school year for their favorite one, and then there's a winner at the end of the year. And so they'll kind of learn about that democratic process as well, which is cool. There is also the YARP Award, and the YARP Book Award is, it's for middle school and high school. There are two different lists, one for middle, one for high. I'm sure Joan probably participates in this. No? Okay, no. Yes. So again, they read their favorites and they vote for them. and we do it all over again. Kind of a cool thing. Let me go back here. Children and youth again. Now the thing I wanted to show you, and I put it on your agenda here as part of the, let's see, apply, is to check out the Oculus Go and the NASA at My Library on the Children and Youth Services page. And I asked the question, how might you be able to use these services in your library or partner with staff or your public library to bring these services to your school or community? Hold on, let me go back here. So Oculus Go is a virtual reality set. And we have a couple of these, and these are for checkout. So like Tracy, this would be really super awesome for you. I could totally see you doing this with your kids, your kiddos. These are, you would check them out, you would interlibrary loan them just like you would any other kind of resource. And it gives you instructions, gives you all kinds of things to go with it as well, and lesson plan as well. So this is something that I would definitely recommend that you take a look at a little bit more if you're interested in bringing virtual reality into your school library, or maybe partnering with your public library, doing an event or something like that. That would be cool. Or even like in the classroom, one of the classrooms. The next one is NASA at My Library, and these are different kits. We have Earth and Science-based kits available for checkout, and again, it's through the interlibrary loan system. And you can get a lot more information, but all the kits, so there's 2 different kits, and they have everything you need to do the lesson. And so it's kind of a one-stop shop. One is Sun, Earth, Moon Connections. Says that it focuses on activities and experiences that help patrons better understand their place in space. And kit 2 is Be a NASA Detective, Expanding Your Senses kit. We also have a Native American kit here and a visually impaired kit. So I would recommend, if this is something you're interested in, is to kind of check these out. You can see it's kind of popular, right? And really anyone is eligible. You just have to, you can be a school or a public or an academic library as well. So those are the 2 things I would recommend, that like if you're really into this stuff, or you want to partner with your public library or a teacher, this would be a cool thing. You would really wow them, I think, with something like this. Okay. I am going to go back up to services, and I'm going to go to school libraries. I'm going to end on school libraries because we're the most important, right? For sure. Let me grab a drink here. So the school library services page, like I said, I keep most of the content on the main state library page or website, which is what you're seeing here. I don't keep it on LibGuides. I just think people access this website more than the other one. And so the mission of our school library services is to support South Dakota school librarians and educators by providing professional development, resources for teaching and learning, and opportunities for collaboration. And we do that in a variety of ways. Again, we offer all of the databases here, and this, if you click on K-12 student research, this will give you all of the databases for elementary, middle, and high. We have professional development here, and that will take you out to the LibGuides page that lists all the professional development. And I will say, this is what I think is really cool about reaching out, is that Joan and Julie are really focusing on school librarians because it can be tricky to find PD just for school librarians with just an emphasis, especially when it comes to digital learning. And so I gotta say hats off to Julie and Joan for providing Reaching Out, because it's needed, and hopefully you guys can continue with something like this as well. That'd be cool. You're filling a need for sure. There's that little niche there, right? And I'm sure Carmen in North Dakota would say the same thing, that it can be hard to find tailor-made stuff for just school librarians. Let's see. So we have in the school library page, we have our 21st Century Library Awards, and other school or other states may have something similar to this too. It's basically each year we recognize school libraries that excel based on the school library assessment. We also have a school administrators page. This is something I kind of put together with the hopes that school administrators would have a one-stop shop to gain everything they might think they need to support their school librarian. We have an interview guide, which is handy. So let's say you're going to be moving next year and you're going to need to be interviewing for other jobs. This would be something good for you also to look at as a librarian and be able to answer some of these questions. The school library guidelines is something that looks at the person, the place, and the professional in the library. And we're actually looking at updating those sometime next year. And those kind of rest alongside of the school library awards. I'm going to go back one here before I get into the other stuff. We also have an advocacy page. So if you are looking to gain some more information about how school libraries are doing nationwide and also in the state, you can click on advocacy and find information here. If you click on this Pearl Trees link, this is a collection that I've made that has more information or more links on it to for advocacy. We also have the book awards. We've already talked about certification. That lives on the LibGuides. We do have some frameworks and guides that are accessible. You can definitely look through those. We have a checklist, we have the interview guide, we have a collection development framework. This one gets used quite a bit. I believe Joan put that one together. And that one I know for sure gets used quite a bit, so that's awesome. We also have a library science course framework, and I'm not sure, maybe Carmen has something like this in her state, where in high school, the state offers an elective course for a student working in the library. And it has its own course code through the state. I also have links for Native American resources for both supporting, teaching, and learning. The professional development, again, will go out to that LibGuides like I showed you. We have some reading resources. I want to show you this digital books collection. I get, along with school library endorsement, digital books is probably the other #1 question I get, because school librarians really want to have digital books, and they know they should have digital books, right? But they ain't cheap. So finding resources that can help them out without them spending too much money is pretty critical. And so I've created this curated list that kind of gives you some ideas of of which you can use that is free or at a very low cost. So I hope that that is helpful. I do know that Julie's shared collection is going over really well in South Dakota, and so I don't know if that's an option for people in North Dakota or Wyoming, but something like that has really filled a need in our state, at least. And that is like Overdrive, but for schools. I'm going to go over standards and guidelines here. So we have new standards. This is the first year that we are on official rotation with the South Dakota Department of Education, which is good since we're a department of the South Dakota Department of Education, right? It kind of just makes sense that we would. But again, it gives us a little bit more power with the Department of Ed, which is lovely. The 2019 standards, I'm not going to go through every little thing here, but we do have 3 strands: textual literacy, information literacy, and then civic and ethical literacy. So you're looking at textual literacy is primarily reading, information is that research process, and then civic and ethical is more about like digital citizenship. And again, we used the AASL standards heavily on this. We also looked at ISTE very deeply when we were, the work group was going through this. Each strand has a standard, and then under that, each strand has 6 objectives there. And the course that we just finished up our fall course of the intro to this, of the 2019 standards. We had 19 people in it. It went really well. And it's nice to see how people are kind of thinking about that. Wow, I'm already teaching these standards. I just didn't know I was, right? Like, and classroom teachers are also teaching these standards. They just don't even know they are. So it's that awareness that is so important there. The guidelines, again, like I said, they are about the library place program professional, and they kind of give you guidelines on where your library should be in terms of those things. Let's see what else we have here. We also have a link to the crosswalks. As you know, ISTE has amazing standards. I love the ISTE standards, and they have created crosswalks with the National Library Standards and the Future Ready Standards. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to let you go. The School Library Data Digest. So not every state does this, but we do. We collect data from hopefully every school district in the state about its library services, and then we collect that data at the end of each school year, and then with that data we use it to advocate, but then we also use it to create a data digest. And this is this year's, and it gives all kinds of data or data, no matter, or however you like to say it, right? About what's happening in our school libraries as a whole. Now, South Dakota school librarians and districts can always request their individual district records or data from our data coordinator, and that is freely available. We don't get that request very often, but it is. So the kind of the information you see in this data digest, school librarians can get that just for their own district as well. We also have the archives there. And the school library surveys, that is what we use to collect that data to go into the data digest. So lastly, we have the South Dakota Future Ready Schools Library. It's a brochure, and it is more for an advocacy piece for librarians to take to their administrators to show why school librarians are still very important and what the research actually shows. So we've kind of just broken that down and compiled it. And we do have a school library blog. It's called Collect and Connect, and it is something where anyone can subscribe to it, not just South Dakota librarians. We hope that also North Dakota, and oh yeah, Carmen's on there. Wyoming librarians also. It's this real practical content. We also have a listserv that anyone can subscribe to, again, and that is more like need to know information for school librarians. There might be dates and deadlines, and it's also a forum for our school librarians. I'm also on Twitter, although I have to say I'm not super awesome at it. Well, it's not that I'm not awesome at it, it's that I choose not to be on it so much because I like to have my brain be happy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I do use Twitter. The South Dakota State Library also has a handle on there. And again, I have all of these resource lists, and I didn't create them just for myself. Like, I created them so that other people can use them. And so please, these are all of the different ones that I have. I'm happy for you to share them, and I'm also happy to share them myself. If it helps for me to email it to your staff, I can certainly do that too. I just need to know. But these are all just curated. Let's go to the Native American one. Curated links and lists for teachers and school librarians, not just in South Dakota, but beyond. And I think that's it for the most part. I mean, I could go on and on, but you don't want to hear me. I don't want to hear me.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, we have a lot to look at and think about. And any questions, you could please unmute yourself, people, or just go ahead and put them in the chat. We are coming to the end of our time. And so if you look at the agenda, there are follow-up activities if you are planning to use the webinar series as one college credit. So there's further reading and an assignment that's listed there. And please continue the discussion of things we've learned online through our group's Facebook. And also we have a hashtag, so on Twitter too. The calendar at the bottom of your agenda is just to remind you that our next webinar will be January 9th, and we'll be talking with Carmen specifically about what's going on in North Dakota. And then also our fourth course, this will begin January 15th, and we're going to be diving back into OER and the new framework that we talked about during our summer session. And then by about then, it's going to be time for TIE conference. Julie, would you have anything to add there?
So applications for presentations at the TIE conference are open right now, and they close the 8th, I believe, of January. The other things to think about there is you will need to make your own hotel reservations. I will send out the hotel block, you know, we do reserve blocks, and so I will send that out so that you can take care of making your own reservation. And I think that's probably it. Your TIE conference registration, we will do that like we did last year. We'll pay for that. And so I will just need confirmation. I will send you a code when it opens, but TIE conference registration won't open until the beginning of February. So you have a couple months.
And we will be holding the session on Sunday for just our cohort again. And during that time, we'll be talking about the projects we'll be talking about many things, but we will be talking about the projects that you just completed for course 3 also.
Which are amazing.
They are. Questions or comments? Well, you know where to find us. And just drop us an email or message on Facebook or Twitter. And thank you again so much, Alyssa.
You bet.
I think those NASA things are really very cool.
Yeah. They are. They've been really popular too. I think they're kind of hard to get. You gotta like know what you have to kind of order them ahead of time, you know.
That's cool. And it's nice to see all the databases and everything too, just to kind of have that idea. You guys have done a nice job of adding especially the early elementary resources. So that's cool.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you
And I
guys.
do support the South Dakota Reading Awards. It's just an awkward situation where I am right now. I don't really have a library for my 8th graders.
I know, it's so sad.
I know, except in my room. So yeah, I mean,
I
that's
know.
another story for another day.
You can only do what you can do.
Right.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to stop the recording. Have a good night.
See
Bye,
ya.
everybody. Thank